They're nice.
Yeah,
Do you?
Yep.
I mean,
I want one.
I want one too.
We had one on our High Street, and instead of like the boat, we had our number,
Oh, Nate,
street number put there.
yeah.
Just make it. Well, folks, we are live, but if you're, no, that's okay, you can
No,
keep
no,
talking
no,
about
no,
that.
No, no, no.
It's not quite well, it's now just 4 o'clock.
I think that door's great, and I think another thing's great. What's happening to Camrock Superette?
Isn't that exciting?
It's a
You mean
nice looking
McDuck's.
building.
McDuck's.
McDuck's.
Steve Winchenbach.
Yep.
He has a, AC and heating company?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's called.
That's a nice looking little building now.
He's really done some nice
Heavens, it was
Yeah.
so
The old gas station?
I almost
Yeah.
didn't care what went there, as long as it was something,
And
yeah,
they did something to the building, and they
Yeah.
have, which is great.
yeah.
Well, thank you all for coming. Welcome to the January 14th Camden Downtown Design Team. Mark Ratner is on his way. Donna has a conflict. She let me know today. And Rafi is on deadline with the next year's marketing and media brochure. That's due tomorrow, I think, so. Well, why don't we start with approval from the December 10th design team meeting notes, if you all have any comments or anything.
They're good.
May I have a motion?
I abstain.
Well, I will so move that we approve the minutes.
I'll second that.
Thank you all. All those in favor? Thank you very much. And follow up on the budget request. I think I sent you a copy, Dave, but after our last meeting, I typed up the budget request as we had talked about in our last meeting, and I met with Audra to go over it with her, and I followed up with her and asked her, and she said, everything looks great with the budget you submitted. The only item I have concern with is the administrative budget for planning, the money we put in so we could bring somebody in. And her solution is, she's going to add a line in the budget to have that available for all committees, because most committees are in the same boat that we are in. And rather than having sort of a vague thing in just one committee or a second committee's budget, she's going to put a line in so we all would have something that we could make a request, get approval from the select board, and then use. So she is going to put, and she said probably $5,000, you have to put $5,000 in that budget line for for all committees to tap into if they need to make a request for some, whether it's a landscape architect or a lighting consultant, or if we want to have somebody come in and talk about wayfinding signs, something like that for our use. So
How
I
many
thought
other
that,
committees are there that would be accessing this?
you know, I don't know. I mean, there's CDAC, Harbor Committee, Energy, Parks and Rec. I mean,
Historic?
Yeah, the
Historic
Historic
Resources.
Resources on occasion has hired consultants. We put it in our budget request.
the planning board had a budget that included the planning board, not the planning department, but I remember from my planning board days. But I think that that's positive, and I'll follow up with her a little bit closer to budget time to see if everything made it. And then there may be, if there's a budget meeting night, if we need to go talk about our request, particularly for dollars for Harbor Walkway, that we might need to go and put in our.
Are those in
2
March?
cents. Those are, yeah, those are generally in March. So any other comments about budget?
You said you changed a couple of the figures that we talked about last time.
I don't think, well, I did update, I updated the town line signs, part of it, because Dave, I got some information. So actually, the total request was $26,840. Would you all like a copy of my single-page request. I should have thought to send that to you, just so you all have it. It has the harbor walkway, the lights, the light pole bases, the conduit entrenching, grooved concrete walkway, the contingency numbers that Dave put together for us. And then it has money in it to replicate the old black town signs with the gold and black, and that's $2,800, and the post office globe lights, $400. So I'll send that out.
That means we couldn't use any of that until next June.
Probably.
Okay?
But I don't think anything will be coming up until then. And hopefully, the monies that we requested for the harbor walkway will be offset with TIF revenues, which I talked to her about. So some of this would be fairly revenue, at least tax revenue neutral. And I know this isn't on the agenda, but Dave, do you have any update from us, any new news from DOT?
All kinds of new news.
Why don't we just jump to that? That would be great, Dave.
Okay, so, as you remember at the last meeting, I had some concerns about some questions that I didn't have the answers to for the drainage project. So one of them was, are they gonna be replacing the conduit under the streetlights when they dig that up? And they are. And there's four lights that will be impacted, and they're going to replace that conduit, the lighting, and the bases of those lights. So that was the first question I had. The second one, which is probably one that you.
They're gonna replace, what you say they're gonna do?
Replace just the base when they redo the sidewalk.
Oh,
So they're not gonna use the old bases. They're gonna put a new base in, and they're gonna put new conduit in with new electrical. Part of that was we had to discuss how we were gonna tie in the harbor walkway portion. So we're gonna have to put a four-way base in there, a three-way base as opposed to just a two-way. So it can go down into the alleyway and pick it up from the south side of Sea Dogs.
Oh, thanks, I've got one
Oh, okay.
in my mouth. Thank you.
Four-way base, is that an electrical term?
Yeah, just a base with three conduits,
Okay.
as opposed to just two,
Yeah, yeah,
It
okay.
goes in series, and you gotta.
Oh, okay.
I understand.
This
you
is
have to order it-
underneath.
Yeah, you have to order it special that way,
There's a little side track for
Yeah.
the
Okay,
one.
to tie into the new lighting that we wanna put in.
super.
So, then there was a question on, you're not removing all the sidewalk, I think you remember me
Oh,
asking
right.
about that. And, so I asked that question, exactly what did they plan on doing? So, if you look at the sidewalk carefully, there's an expansion joint in the middle. And I think they're gonna cut so from the shop side, at the expansion joint, they're gonna cut a foot from that,
Towards the shop,
towards the curb.
towards the curb.
So they're gonna cut right there, and then they're gonna put a railing up, so people can access the shops.
Oh,
Okay.
during the project.
I got it. Yep.
So this is on the outside of the current expansion joint or inside the current
To
expansion
the
joint?
curb side, away from the building.
Okay,
So they'll be essentially 5 feet from the railing to the doors.
So.
I
then
thought
once the-
expansion joints went, this is the curb. I thought expansion joints went this way.
The
They go
side,
both, I think they go both ways.
it's a checker, it's a
Yeah.
checker, so there's one in the middle and then there's cross ones.
Yep. So,
This is the curb.
Yeah, and this is your store.
Just mine?
that's great.
Yeah, it
and then
is.
there'll be a railing, so that you don't fall into the ditch. So, the other part is, once the project's done, then they'll go and cut at the expansion joint and replace that one piece and try and match it as best they can, so the two look alike. So that was a kind of important question that we didn't know the
Yeah,
answer to.
and that's really
I
good.
think that was pretty well thought out.
Yeah.
how do you cross the trench?
There'll be places where you can.
We'll have a little bridge.
Yeah, you'll have, I don't think they'll have a bridge, or they'll probably backfill in those areas. Maybe they'll make a bridge, but,
Oh, okay.
they'll have to have a pedestrian detour plan when they do that, and label where to go. So, our road project.
And then the finish is concrete,
Same exact thing that's there,
and they'll match, okay.
Great.
okay? So I wanted to know about the sidewalks, the crosswalks, if they were gonna mill out the stamped asphalt that's red, because it's all worn out, I don't think it looks very nice.
No.
So they agreed to that, so they'll mill those sections out, and then we'll pay for the two that are outside the project that are the northerly two crosswalks. And then once we paint the crosswalk in, you won't really see it. It'll just be darker in the crosswalk with the lines on each side straddling the change in.
So we're gonna eliminate the stamping and then just
Yep.
do solid and then do the white, it's not zebra stripe, but what do you, ladder,
Piano keys.
piano keys,
Yeah.
okay.
So I think that'll look pretty good, because it'll
Yeah.
be darker and.
Stand up more, yeah.
Yeah, and it won't fade like the red.
Yeah, that was wonderful looking for a
It
season.
looked good right
Not
around
even a
the-
whole season actually,
Yeah, it
but it
started
looked
to wear.
great when it was first put
I
down.
didn't stay like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then we went down and looked over the details of the, how we were gonna tie things in the harbor walkway, which, that was more from, just so we were both on the same page of how we were gonna do things, who was gonna do what. They're gonna put a little extra, budget in for some machine time, but we're gonna have to pay for the work.
The trenching,
Yeah, they're gonna do some of it, but we're gonna have to pay for, putting the bases in, putting the conduit in, connecting the conduit, all of those things. But then there's, if you start looking at that, there's, right when you come off of Main Street, there's kind of almost like a hump right there before you get down in there, and that has to kind of be shaved down. And we were talking about doing that, because the new crosswalk's gonna come right to that point. So you gotta have kind of a transition in both directions with the right slope. And we talked about how we were gonna accomplish that.
Was that hump put in as to be like a swale?
I don't know, maybe it was meant to be there, I don't know why it's there, maybe, it could be ledge there.
Yeah.
so because of the crosswalk is there, they'll be lowering it won't have the curve, you'll have the accessible slope down. And so that they would probably like continue that to the walkway?
That's what we're hoping. Yeah, that's what we were talking about, and I think we
Okay.
are.
Well, that'll be really helpful, I think, for
It
people.
will,
Because
but
then you'd have a four-way slope down
I
there.
think they agreed to that by the end of the whole conversation.
Where, will there be a tactile block put in there too, and where will that be?
Well, have to be put there at the end of the crosswalk.
Okay,
It wouldn't be
yeah.
beyond
yeah,
that.
yeah. Are they gonna be metal?
The way, I think that those are precast in there.
Is it?
They're
Because the
steel-
ones that put it
steel
before,
inside concrete. I don't, we have a drawing, and I don't wanna quote what that is. It's whatever we're using in town here.
because the ones that went in the last work, they're all, the surface is off of them, they don't have the knobs
And
anymore.
they're steel.
Yeah, the ones up on High Street, which don't get much wear, they're all,
Are they steel?
no, composite.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't be those.
Okay.
No, it's the steel ones. Usually the ones I've put in are the cast inside the concrete. Those seem to be the most. The only thing is they'll get smooth after a while too, and they can get a little slippery. But it takes a long time.
The metal ones look nice, they're, like they say, a nice statement.
I think that's the detail of the ones that we're supposed to be using around town. And
Nice.
I think those are. Then I don't know if anybody noticed, but there's flagpole holes with little covers, so you don't really get to see all this stuff until you start really looking at the details of that sidewalk.
Oh, you mean on the sidewalks? Yeah, that's right.
So I had to send them a detail of that, so they can incorporate that into the sidewalk, also. So that, and then we talked a little bit about something else in before that kind of could have an impact on any of this, which is the easement going down there. And I don't know if you guys know about that and where that's at, or,
I don't know.
because we can't do any of this without an easement.
Right, I know that there exists a town right-of-way,
For
but
the-
it's
for the
controlled
drain-
by a deed.
Yeah,
And that's been in existence for a long, long, long time. Who goes after the easement, the MDOT? Or
no, I
the
think
town.
it's us.
Is Bill Kelly working on that?
I
or-
think the reason that came up is because when you start looking at where those light bases are going, they're getting on the edges of that easement, and we need to know where that is.
Oh, the current, where our current right-of-way is, they may be on the outside of the current right-of-way on the walkway.
Yep.
Are we talking about just on one side or on
Well,
both sides?
the lights are only on one
One
side.
side, okay, so there's only the issue next to CDOG, is that right?
But the whole thing really needs to be
Or the
clarified.
other side?
Yeah, it does.
We need to clarify the easement of the use of that space.
Yeah, because it looks like the town owns that whole grassy area downhill from,
But not the actual
not-
walkway space.
Whereabouts are you talking? Where the third pole for third light base is gonna go?
where the second and third base
I don't think we
goes.
own that. I
Oh,
mean,
really?
I mean,
My memory.
if you look at that, the pin is right on the hut top. The grass is here. There's actually a pin if you walk down there. It's in the hut top and you can see it. So if you had the edge of the building to your back, it's almost directly on line with that on the other side in the hut top. And that shows you, because I know you had talked about kind of doing some stuff in there.
Yeah, with the path is up, but I think that's because when I looked at well, I think Deb's probably got a copy of it, the map of the public landing, it
Yes.
looked like the Montgomery's property line was somewhere towards the waterside edge of that brick walk that runs parallel to the back of the buildings. And so that brick walk is just a tiny bit in town-owned property.
This survey done by Gartley and Dorsey shows this black line as property line. And it
Right, so yeah,
looks,
there's the brick
So
wall.
there's the pin right there.
Right, but see, this, I think, is all owned by the town, too,
Is it?
although it's a separate parcel.
I'm not
It's-
sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not
They
sure.
did this survey when Roberta Smith was our town manager, and the town should have it. They did this in 2010.
So that's some of the questions that I have.
Yes, so that's why I was so bold as to put the lights on the grass, because I believe that this parcel here is where we only have a right-of-way, but this, I think, is owned by the town.
The Gartley, the town should have a real copy of that, not a small black and white.
Well, I can talk to Andrew about it.
Yeah, I think it's
It'd be
August
good to have that
2010.
cleared up, that
Oh,
basically
We've
everyone's
been
in
talking about it for
cooperation.
so long,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, we really should have something that says
Yeah,
we could use that property
I thought I had it.
Right,
before we go and start trying to do stuff down in there. So anyway, that came out of the conversation of talking about where all this was gonna go.
well, you made great notes, I hope they did the same, so that they'll remember what it is they said they would
I
do.
have a pretty good memory, so I think, and the guy I'm working with is really good.
Good.
Doug Coombs is probably one of the better DOT guys that, I mean, not that he's better than any of them, but he's really good. Then the current schedule is gonna be advertised on 6/10/2020. And it's gonna be awarded on 8/5/2020, and they're gonna begin construction, if everything goes right, on 10/13/2020.
I'm sorry, what was that date? I'm sorry?
The current schedule to advertise is on 6/10/2020, so they're gonna advertise the job.
And
They'll-
awarded on,
They're awarded on 8/5/2020,
okay,
and they're scheduled to begin on 10/13/2020.
wow.
And then the sequencing of the job is left up to the contractor, but he is expecting them to work from the outlet up, because a lot of that hammering and everything can be done in the wintertime,
From the outlet up,
the outfall.
down on the landing?
Yeah.
So they're going to work.
They would work, he doesn't know that, it's up to the contractor to provide a work plan, but he would think that they would do that because you can hammer in the wintertime, but you really can't dig and do those kinds of things. So, that.
Did they give an end date or an estimated anything? June.
13th, you said they begin?
Yeah.
Is Columbus Day or Indigenous Day? Indigenous Day is the 12th, so they start the day after the holiday.
10/13.
That's great, and because it's beyond the Windjammer weekend, Labor Day. Things are getting a little quieter, not
That's when it,
as long as, well, okay.
So then today, today we had the people from Rome up. And it-
Rome?
Rome, the controllers for the lighting.
Oh, the rolling system
And
on
we,
our,
knock on wood, we'll know tomorrow, but we think it's completely fixed, except for 5 lights, which we have the replacement notes, we need to put them in, and they need a harness that goes in between, which should be, we have that on order. But everything is now at a point where we can actually control it, and there's a schedule in it. The schedule will be 15 minutes before dusk, the light will go on. It'll run at 80% till 10 o'clock. At 10 o'clock, it'll go down to 40%. And then it'll run,
downtown lights?
yeah, then it'll run at 40% until 4 AM. At 4 AM, it'll go up to 80%. And then it'll run 80% until 15 minutes after sunrise. So that's an energy conservation.
that's great.
So we'll see how it goes.
4 AM, that's good and early.
Well, that's when people start moving around, so we want it to be a little brighter, but in those wee hours of the morning, there's no need to have 100% light out there.
How easy is it to alter those times
You
and?
can do it anywhere, at any time, as long as I have my laptop in 1
Good,
minute.
yeah, good.
Speaking about lights, can I talk about the arch for a moment? Anybody ever talk to you about the arch, the
Oh,
Rockport
by
Camden arch?
the-
No, never.
Because I keep mentioning it to Audra, because when it was injured and brought back, there are lights along the top of it on both sides. And there are 2 lights that are working, have been working since they brought it back, and the rest are out. But they're special, and I actually have a note about it, because I have a friend that lives near there, and they ask me about it about every month. When are they going to fix the lights? When are they going to fix the lights? And I keep mentioning to Audra, and she keeps running it down, and then
So is it the wiring that's bad, or the bulbs have?
well,
bad?
it's a special, we don't know, but there are 2 lights that are working, but they are not, I can tell you exactly, hold on, let me find, because they did something special when they rebuilt it. They wanted the lights there to not be really, there we go. They didn't want them to be really high power. So what they did is, I can read the email. Bob Davy, the founder of Maine Coast Construction, was the leader of the building of this version of the arch. He tells me that the lights are 15-watt frosted bulbs. Most importantly, they are wired in series, not in parallel. This means they run at lower voltage and last much longer. So you just can't take them out and stick in digital light bulbs to replace it.
Well, also if they're wired in series, it means if like one goes out, they all go out, I think.
There's been 2 working since they put the arch in, and nothing else works on either side. So I don't know what's going on, so I
Would this be a
figured.
time to change to LED?
What's that? Well, then it would have to be totally rewired then. It may be easier. They did it in series so that the bulbs would last a lot longer, because they will last a long time that way. And he thinks that maybe when it got broken, the other bulbs got bumped around, but we don't know. So I can go to Audra. But it's, I'll go to Audra and say, I had a conversation with you about it, because I've reminded her about 7 times, and she would just as soon take them out and not do anything with it, but I think it'd be nice to have the bulbs repaired, if it's an easy fix, if you can just get 15-watt frosted bulbs and put them back in.
Yeah,
Although I
I can
wonder-
check that. That'd be easy to do.
I wonder if soon those traditional screw-in 15 incandescents are going to be available.
I know
I
that's a-
think you can put I'm not sure, but I think you could just put one of those LED screw-in 15 watts, if it's,
I don't,
It'd be lower watts if you go to LED, though.
well, yeah, equivalent
Equivalent,
15.
right.
yeah.
So I'm not.
I mean, we'll check and see if it works.
Yeah.
And then if it works, maybe we'll try and put some
Okay,
different.
I just want to mention to you, and I will mention to
Wrote it
Audra
down.
that I mentioned it to you. But I get beat up usually about once a month about the lights from different people.
well, it
fix the
is
lights in.
charming when the lights are working, I
know.
would say.
Yeah,
It looks
and it's
really
been
nice.
out, and just having 2 of them lit for the the last year.
I haven't
Yeah, it
even
looks
been
like,
aware
it's
of
like
that.
someone with only 2 teeth left, kind of a thing. It's-
Going back to Rome, can you override that for fires and emergencies?
In about a minute.
Yeah, and,
I
like
can
Chris
take
Farley
it.
could, or anybody,
No, just.
you're the guy.
Yeah, I'm the only person with access to it. So I can just expand over the area, highlight all the lights, put an override command in, or I can just do a few.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's great.
I want to come and watch you sometime.
I'll bring the laptop in sometime and I'll do it right here.
Do
at the
a
next-
demo.
Yeah, I can show, I'll
That
do
would
the
be
one
cool.
right over here.
So I brought up the tax map of the town landing.
Does it show it as
It
the,
shows it as town property.
Oh, okay.
It's like all one big thing, even though it may have been purchased separately and therefore there's pins. I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't show private property owning that space.
No, it shows only private property in that little garden area behind the buildings.
Well, you can get those next door.
Yeah.
I mean, I can usually look at this online. I didn't do that.
Jeannie could print one out.
But I guess I can get the survey from Andrew and that'll be able to be the best thing to look at.
Yeah. We're still gonna need permission
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
the Warrens for what happens in the alley, no matter what.
Yeah.
because that
So you're
really
saying,
is-
all right, but I thought we had to be concerned about Montgomery building as well.
That's where the conduit and stuff is going to
Right,
happen.
so then we need to talk with them as well.
But I don't know, because it requires an easement, that's a legal issue that I would think that Bill Kelly would pursue.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to
So,
speak.
I thought the alley itself was owned by the Orms.
It is. Oh, does the property line go up to their building?
Yeah, that's but usually you need a construction easement when you're right on the property
Right on the
line.
property line.
So it's almost need permission from both
both
parties.
I think everybody be cooperative.
Yeah.
So do I.
Go for
Yeah,
the
I agree.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the other thing that came up when we were looking at it, the design of having the slip form curbing or elevated curbing that we had talked about, running down parallel. I kind of agreed with it after I looked at it. It was a little high. I think a lower curbing might be better running down through there because of the windows that are in the building.
How high was the original curb?
I don't remember.
5
that.
inches?
No, it was significantly higher than that. It was over a foot, I think.
Did you put curbing in your design?
No, I thought maybe this was something that came up
No,
later.
when you were gone, a refinement came
Yeah,
up.
no.
Oh,
And the
I missed-
curbing
Oh.
was very nice. It detailed it. It was a
Oh,
nice,
yeah.
nice addition.
But it was for drainage too.
Yeah.
But visually, it helped a lot too.
Right, but it delineated the walking area, but I think just making that a little lower will,
Yeah, the windows are like right there. So
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure how they're gonna grade it at the end of the day.
well, that was a question
but-
we had, and we're worried about water and blocking those windows and,
The windows of Jack's place only? At the bottom?
No, isn't there one further up?
The
in little
Montgomery
bit-
windows, there's some that the window sill is like right on the pavement level. And on the Sea Dog side, there's places where the asphalt is actually over the clappers. So obviously it's been built up over
Yeah.
the years, so it used to be lower, so.
yeah,
So there will be curbing on both sides to keep the
Well,
water
yeah.
of some kind.
We have to refine that drawing a little bit more.
Okay.
I
So
just
that's
say there was
DOT's
a,
refining that?
No,
or-
that's us. We'll have to,
Okay.
well, I'll have to have a drawing of that curbing to give to a contractor to put it in, so it has to be a little bit more detailed with the drainage. Because we had to talk about how the drainage ties into the main line, and that's kind of how the conversation started talking. But those are the details we'll take care of,
So Andrew, that's going to be Andrew Gartley-Dorsky,
potentially, yeah,
potentially.
yeah.
but curbing, I believe the curbing was an asset, and I hope everybody can do something to maintain it.
Oh, yeah, it'd be just the height of the
Yeah,
curb.
no, yeah, but I meant,
You need it for the drainage.
Right,
So
yeah.
if we put drainage, we'll probably need curbing.
good, like that.
I
That's
must have
it.
missed that meeting. That's great.
Yeah, okay,
Thank you so very much.
sure.
Mural, I got in contact with Rafi last week just to give him a heads up, and have you been able to get Alexis to come? And she was not able to come, and then he couldn't come because of his deadline at Maine Media. But he said he was going to meet with her before our next meeting, and I suggested that Rafi contact either Richard and or Donna to meet with Alexis if Rafi's going to do that, because Rafi knows her so well and has worked with her on the other two projects. I thought it would be good to have, another perspective. You and or Donna might think of questions that Rafi won't, because Rafi's just worked so
Yeah.
closely with her. So hopefully he will reach out to either you or Donna, and
I should be expecting to hear from Rafi?
yes, and I'll send him
Yeah.
a reminder that I've told both you and Donna that you
Okay.
might hear from him. And one of the other things was about insurance for working on the wall.
I failed to complete my assignment,
Well,
Madam Chairman.
guess what? You get to keep the assignment.
Okay.
You have not been relieved of the assignment.
That's my reward,
And the
okay.
next insurance,
Yeah.
And-
still have it too.
But there won't be any extra homework, no writing on the
Okay.
blackboard over
All right.
here. But if you would,
100 times.
100. And I was talking to somebody today whose husband does a lot of art installations on municipal properties and airports, schools, and things like that. And I asked her about what kind of insurance. And because she and her husband are, a company, they carry their own insurance. But she said David Turner must have some kind of insurance for when work is ever done on his building.
Oh, boy. But I
But,
don't know if he
Well,
doesn't
couldn't
have
Dave look into
to.
that too?
well, yeah, or we could, have Dave contact David.
Generally, when you're hiring like a roofer or a
They have
painter
their
or
own.
something, they have their own insurance. I mean, obviously, you have your commercial building insurance if someone, slips on your sidewalk, right, or something.
Okay.
But generally, you look to hire a contractor that has so if someone falls off a scaffold or something, it's not on
So
you.
Steve Karen, who might do just the masonry paint, would come with his own commercial
Right.
liability
Yeah, I agree.
insurance. So it really is only our volunteers doing the work on the wall that we need to find a way to make sure there's some coverage.
I don't think there's any way that David's insurance carrier would write a certificate to cover volunteers working on scaffolding on the side of it. That's just like, whoa. We're going to have to probably get some kind of special coverage. And it's possible the town can do it, with
Well, we are a
their
town
municipal-
committee, and we are
But we're,
in charge of the project, right?
Private property.
the work is
yeah.
applying to the private property, but the work is going to be done standing on town property. Because we have to do it we can't be hanging down from the Turner's building and doing it. We will be standing, and the cherry picker, whatever it's called, will be on town property. So maybe there's a conversation
Or we
with
may have
Allen
to buy some
Agency.
kind of
and-
event insurance or something like
Yeah,
that.
Yeah, that's what I think, for
Yeah.
some
Sort of
limited
special.
duration
Yeah.
of a particular
Yeah.
project.
I know when I'm booking weddings for the amphitheater, if people don't have home insurance, or if their carrier won't write them a certificate, I refer them to a company called WedSafe, and they just, for $150, they cover them for 24
that's
hours.
interesting. What an interesting niche, the insurance business. WedSafe.
What an interesting name. Like wedding.
So
They
when
didn't have
the,
insurance on mine.
Do they insure the marriage for success?
Yeah, right.
That's what I was saying.
No,
when the rice
And there's
goes in
divorce.
someone's ear and they can't get it out.
that would be beyond,
That would be real expensive.
I don't think anybody would underwrite that. Our other thing regarding the wall we need to talk about is fundraising, and I know we've talked about how much of a design do we need, to go out and talk to people. It's sort of a, which comes first, a chicken and an egg. Regardless of that, and we don't have it at the moment, there's some, it's a reflection. We need to have a plan. So we have an account at the town. That's been set up, so we can accept donations in the town. But who do we go get them from, and how do we go do it? And one of the things we talked about last time was putting together maybe a potential big donor list. So who do we want to, I think we need to tackle that and start brainstorming about who that might be, who would be the first people we would go talk to?
Now, out of curiosity, are we thinking about this in terms of businesses in the town or private individuals or a mix of that?
We were thinking businesses, I think. And, I mean, a couple of big businesses perhaps, like banks or,
Insurance
I think that's what we had said,
Yeah.
right?
An insurance
That would be the
agency.
easiest way to do it.
So who do we want to tackle? And should we tackle somebody that we have contacts in, or will they automatically refer us, up the chain of command? And this is who you got to talk to if you're looking for a donation of any kind.
Well, I think we need to get cost information, of course.
Right. We were looking at, I don't think I have it.
I think it has to be,
We were looking at 6 to 10, weren't we? But it depends on what Alexis is.
yeah. I mean, it has to be a little more detailed than a range of 6 to 10.
Right. I know we need that, but my thought is, can we try to identify now who would be potential donors?
I would go to the Allen Agency,
Okay?
Camden National.
Camden National.
First?
First.
And the First. And I think the First is probably stronger.
Do you?
Yeah, mhm.
Really? I would have thought Camden National would have been,
Camden National sort of backed out of that.
really?
Yeah. Mhm. I mean, it's possible they could take an interest in it, but my intuition is that we'd probably have better luck with the First.
I also think that the businesses in the immediate vicinity, well, for starters, plan it with the Arnauds. I mean, they support the arts already in a big way. So I think speaking to them would be very appropriate.
What about, they probably, I'm having a senior moment, Sherman's. They
Sherman's?
also,
Yeah, I mean, they're a chain, right? So
they're Maine,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah, but Camden is not their primary.
flagship
No,
store, yeah.
no.
but maybe somebody like that is a small donor, but nonetheless a donor.
I mean, I definitely
If
think
we got
that,
$50 from them, we'd all would be thrilled, I would
I
think.
mean, French
we'd
and
be like,
Braun, I mean, all the businesses
Oh,
that
I want to.
essentially you
I definitely
are
want
right
to.
there,
I
people,
know.
your
I'm
people are
number one,
parking in
right?
that lot, it's.
Other
Well, it's
large
just that-
employers are like Quarry Hill, or, Penn Bay Healthcare, whoever.
I think we're going in two different directions right now, because last time when we talked about it, because I had said, I would want to be a part of it, but then we had talked about perhaps trying to go for a couple of big donors, and that would be it, and we wouldn't,
I would try there first.
if
And
we,
we certainly, we need a Plan B.
Yeah.
yes, we do.
But Plan A would be to go to Allen Agency, the First, and maybe Camden National, and say,
What
would
about
you-
Lyman
would you want
Morris
to be
as
the
well?
exclusive?
Lyman Morse,
I would think they would be a
the
really
town's
good,
been very good to them.
and they're very
Very
interested in being part of the
Absolutely.
community. I think they're,
Drew Lyman.
yeah.
In fact, they're being heard on Thursday to put replace that red shed over there. And
Oh, really?
people have been very cooperative.
Well, quid pro quo.
Ooh.
That's not legal, but
I mean, it's
Oh, really?
almost like
I thought it was.
the amount of money we're looking for
This kind of thing happens
is
all the time.
very small for some of these places.
we think so, but I know how it's been. For instance, Jazz in June is in the process of organizing, getting its event for 2020 going. And Matt Brown is doing the same thing and talking to some of these same people. And it's not exactly easy.
Something that is concrete and stays is a little different. I was going to suggest, this town is recognized for having people of means that are really interested in it. Why not approach some of those people? And I would think that I'd go to Dave to ask a couple ideas, because they seem to do very well with like those benches at the Harbor Park and the library. I think the library has a sense of individuals we could approach. But like Mr. Reed, I was reading about that man one time, and I was really impressed with what he contributed to the city of Boston for a little tiny triangle of land at the base of Beacon Hill that's now a magical place. So,
Are you talking about the boathouse?
Yes,
guy?
Yeah,
those guys.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hand point.
Yeah.
I think he's new in this community, he has a big investment in the community. I would think he'd be searching for ideas to contribute to it. And maybe a great one to approach him.
Really?
Just kidding.
Well, no,
Somebody,
I wouldn't mind, but we're just throwing out ideas.
Yeah,
now.
absolutely.
ideas.
This
But
is-
I think ideally, it would, if we get, say it's going to be 6,000 or so, and we get
About 10.
three, all right, say 10, well, let's say 9, we get 3 people to ask them, we ask them to contribute $3,000 each, and that would be, say that was the Allen Agency, Camden National, and the First, say they all said yes, then we wouldn't be going out and getting lots of small donations from a lot of people. But you also are saying we've got to have a fallback, because those
Yep.
3 entities might not want to give $3,000.
Right, they might say, our max is $500.
Well, I think we also have to decide what kind of benefit goes with the sponsorship. Will they have their name inscribed underneath
I
it?
hope not,
Well, I would hope so, actually.
really?
There needs to be,
On the mural?
Oh, I think you could do it so that wouldn't be,
you could have a nice panel
Yeah.
over on the, the side towards the end that gives acknowledgements.
I think if you don't do that, I don't think we're going to get businesses to.
Yeah, not from commercial entities, because that's advertising for them is.
You could do the flags and say National Bank underneath.
And then people would have to go and figure out what it says, right?
Or just do the whole name in the flags.
yeah.
Oh, you mean do the whole name in the flags? Just little mini flags underneath.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a part of me that thinks that if you want to do something of benefit to the town, you don't necessarily have to get credit for it. I mean,
agree.
I just would feel like,
I think it cheapens it.
yeah, I don't know. But I know what you're saying, Dave, but I just.
I think recognition is important,
Right, yes, so you
whether
come
it's
out in
in
the paper and you have a big
press
thing,
releases or
yeah.
whatever, but I go along with Dave. I'm not so sure there can't be a tasteful way of having, an acknowledgement up there. But maybe that's a design element, that either Alexia or Rafi can think about as they're thinking about how to incorporate the design up there on that wall.
But then if it does come down to, we've got to go out and get 40 people or 50 people or whatever, there's no way you can put 50 names up there.
No, you wouldn't, no.
So, I mean,
But a major donor gets acknowledgement on the wall. I mean, you
don't
normally
like
have.
that idea.
You don't like that idea?
No, because that's giving credit to somebody who has different means than somebody else, but I find it discriminatory myself. Anyhow, these are just details.
Yeah.
And I should
no,
say
it's
right now,
important
I'm in the
details.
stage now of thinking, with all respect to the library, but the town is getting a little bit too named. You know, that's just my own feeling, like,
Oh.
you know, walking on walking stones with names, it's like, oh my God. It's just my personal opinion. So I couldn't see putting 50 more on.
No, I don't
that.
think we'd
Well,
want to
I'm not gonna
put
do that.
50. I think about, when you put an event together, certainly, you have levels of sponsorships, and there are levels of benefits as a result of the levels of sponsorships. That's fairly typical in an event. And I know this isn't an event, but in event sponsorships, that's kind of what you do. But that is something we can continue to
Probably
talk
more
about.
important to think of the potential people as opposed to how they're going to be named or whatever.
But now we're kind of at the point of the chicken and the egg. So what we need to do is pin down as quickly as we can what it is we would be presenting to these people. What kind of design do we amplify, revise, whatever Meg has put together, and get that solidified, as well as who is going to participate. Because if we are able to bring in youth arts or a group like that, that may appeal to these donors more than just saying, oh, well, it's just a bunch of people are going to volunteer their time on Saturday afternoon to go paint this. But if we have a youth involved, something like a youth involvement, that may help. So I know we need to pin that down.
But if the youth who are involved are actually going to coming up with their own different design, I think it's very important to have that design before we ask people to commit.
You weren't at the last meeting, but the school has pulled out. The teacher did not feel it really was a project that she could wrap her hands around and get her kids involved in. So we don't have the high school. So hopefully it would be another group of youth, whether it's through Youth Arts or whatever organization Alexis is involved with. Any other thoughts, guys?
Well, it would really be helpful to get some feedback so that we'd know what we have to present to potential donors.
Okay.
And we could start out by doing a good hardline budget.
The last budget we had, you worked on
Yeah.
with Rafi.
Came
What
up
do you
low,
think?
6,000.
Yeah, that is low. That doesn't, I'm not putting my fingers on it right now, so,
I just have my worksheets. I remember.
here. We actually, during the meeting, so we had 3,000 for project management, 1,500 for mural materials. That's also probably counting on partial donations. Steve Karen painting, which is 1,000, but that's donating the labor.
Wall repair, 0.
Wall repair 0, because we're not repairing the wall. 650 for
Staging.
pro rental staging. We put in 450 for insurance because when I first talked to them, that's what we had gotten, and then 250 for publicity and fundraising. And that came to $6,850, $6,850. I have no clue about whether the paint number is accurate or not. I don't know if masonry paint that we'd be using is more expensive than any outdoor paint. I don't know.
I'd ask Steve Karen, like,
Okay.
what would several different colors of paint for that area cost, you know?
He might be able to tell us, he must estimate how many gallons of
Yeah,
paint it's
so-
going to take to do
He'll be covering all
covering.
of it.
Right, so for instance, let's say it was, it will take 10 gallons of paint to cover the wall. Clearly, if you have different colors, there's going to be waste involved, right? Because, you're only using so much yellow, but you still had to buy a gallon. So he probably would have a good handle on how many gallons and then what that would cost.
Was it Rafi that talked to Steve the last time? Do you know?
I was the one that spoke to Steve.
Oh, you
Yeah.
spoke to Steve, okay.
No, I mean, my God, the guy's great. He's got the right attitude.
I know, he
Just
can't-
like the kind of people that we want to get to contribute. He wants to do it for the town because he's worked for the town on other projects before. He's gotten a lot of business out of the town, the residents. He wants to make a contribution. It was like totally upfront with this guy. It was great. I'd use him again.
Could you go back to him and say, okay, you're doing this
Yeah.
wonderful
Right.
two-coat. We're now going to be applying, I mean, how much per gallon is the paint that you're doing?
I'll ask him what he imagines the finish paint would be.
Right.
He said materials, he's got 1 coat of masonry primer and 2 coats of finish paint, flat finish, and a man lift, and that's what he said was $1,000.
So if we go $1,500
That's
for.
way more than we
for
would
the-
need for the paint itself.
Decorative
probably.
paint.
Yeah.
So maybe we're okay on the
I'll verify that
$1,500.
too.
That would be
And
super.
we may be over if that's what he thinks he can do it for, so.
Yes.
I would just check with Alexis to make sure all the paints match and are compatible before he goes and puts a base paint down.
Right.
Because I know that when we did that, that was really important, what they put down on the very first coat.
You mean like for the color, that it's
No.
compatible with
The
the,
type of paint?
No, the adhesion between the
the
different
primer.
types of
The
paint.
primer and the paint that goes over the primer, they all have to be worked together.
Yeah, so you get good coverage with the
And it'll
second.
last, because if you go and put the wrong primer on, it'll start peeling off and everything, so. And I don't know that they've kind of talked about, what was gonna be the final kind of paint and the primer.
that's why we need this project manager.
Exactly.
Alexis, or,
Yeah, she knows all the paint and exactly
we
what
need
kind
to-
of primer.
that makes me feel more comfortable than if it was a high school class, because she'll know her paint.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I know that we couldn't just buy the paint anywhere, we had to buy it, like Sherwin-Williams was the only place that had the specific kind of paint.
Is there a way we can work directly with Alexis? I mean, if Rafi has issues about being able to make meetings because he's got a lot going on, can we just
Have her
directly?
come.
Yeah, because I think we have a lot of
I know her pretty
questions for her.
well. I mean,
Yeah,
I have her on my contacts, I mean, she's,
Got him on speed dial.
I mean,
Yeah.
I've worked with her quite a bit, so I just know her from just different things too.
I think that that's going to be really important because we're going to be needing to make progress, day to day, week to week on things, not waiting a whole nother month before some information comes forward and there's some
right.
conclusion.
So if we could not wait until February's meeting, but somebody from this committee, Dave, whoever, you, together, talk to her and just load her with all the questions that we have and get some answers so that then we can actually deal with something by next
Well,
meeting.
Rafi is going to have the next meeting with her, and I think you were here when I said, I asked him to include Richard and/or Donna
Right.
in that meeting with Alexis.
Well, Dave ought to be included too.
I can just text her and say, mind if we get a few answers to some of the questions that we have.
She knows the design, right?
I don't think so.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, Rafi said he's been in touch with Alexis and she's up for it. So I don't know any more details than that. So maybe perhaps the next thing that needs to happen is a follow-up with Rafi and say, as a result of this meeting, we really want to get started talking with Alexis, and maybe can we put Dave in touch with her regarding,
So we're gonna wanna know, if she's available, for one, and we're gonna wanna know, what the scope of the project's gonna be. Is she gonna have students available to be able to do this? Does she have, what would be her time frame? All of those kinds of details.
And what kind of paint,
And
so
then the
that she can
technical
talk to.
part.
And the paints and all
Yeah.
those things, but we need to give her a design before she can
Yeah.
pick a paint and, that kind of thing, so we gotta kind of get the ball rolling.
absolutely, let me follow up with Rafi.
But I don't want to get involved between him and her if he's already talking with her.
Well, maybe we can get the small group meeting happening sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
And it'd be my job to follow up with Rafi and to try to make that happen.
Yeah. And I can go down and talk with her over where she's teaching the kids too, because I've worked over there with her a little bit too, so.
And that may be because he's, working, 5+ days a week for a living. Rafi, I know you are too, but he's got it. So let me,
He's just playing with that roaming device, he's not really working.
Where is she working with kids?
She works at the Flanagan Center, and she teaches like 2 or 3 days a week. So she has kids that come in, and she basically teaches the kids how to do different art.
Flanagan Center is the
The
Rockland,
old recreation,
the old
Oh,
rec center.
right.
the Y. So she works out of there. And she's pretty busy too. We really would want to get her lined up now, because she travels and she does all kinds of stuff.
Because I keep forgetting when we said we're going to start doing this, because the work in the parking lot starts.
When does the work in the parking lot
We've
start?
we've asked you
There's
this
the other
35 times,
question.
and I've totally forgotten.
Yeah, so we had a meeting on that actually last week with the water company, because we're looking at several other roads at the same time. So we're looking at Norwood, and Sand Street in the parking lot, all being bid at the same time. We're not gonna do Mechanic Street as that bid. That one, we're gonna do something called light capital paving on it, which is, it's a thinner coat of pavement, which it looks pretty decent, but it doesn't last that long. And that'll buy us about 3 years on that to design that out, because that's a big project, and we just don't have the resource or the engineering resources to get that out
Where's
to
it
bid.
extend from?
Excuse me?
Does it extend from downtown?
The
Mechanic
light
Street.
capital, what I want to do ideally is I want to do light capital paving from Elm Street to Simonton Corner. And so that'll all be pretty much new from curb to curb.
Wow.
And then at the same time, they'll be doing the parking lot. That would be the first part of the project. And then we'll
Wow.
probably move over to Sand Street, do the Sand Street project, and then jump over to Norwood. And then by then, we're hoping maybe we'd have Pearl Street ready to bid out. And that same contractor could pick up the Pearl Street bid.
So when was that?
So the Mechanic Street capital, you call it light capital
Paving.
paving? Okay. That would be when the Mechanic Street lot's done.
Yeah, they'd be different contractors, but I
Right.
try and do it so they're all done at the same time, so you had that nice.
So are we talking about next year's financial
Yeah.
year?
No, we're talking springtime.
This springtime?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
But then Sand and Norwood and then Pearl are gonna get dug up and the water lines replaced, is
Yes,
that?
but that would
okay.
be still this year. That
Uh-huh.
would be this construction season. And then ideally, if construction goes well, we'd have Pearl wrapped up in there, and that would be done by fall. That's the stretch goal, but see how it goes.
So anywhere from
Halloween.
midsummer to fall, we could be doing this mural.
Because because the
No.
lot would be finished.
The lot would be, yeah, you could, because the lot would be first.
Right.
Yeah, as the projects go. That would be, because that's the sequencing I'm gonna
So
put
that's
in there.
pretty soon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It'll be nice when it's done,
Yeah, this would be a long time coming
yeah.
to get that enhanced. Are there any changes at all to where the tree and on the corner of the Mechanic Street lot, the tree and the bench and that
There's a street light there, too.
multi-business
I don't
sign?
wanna, without looking at the print, I don't remember. It was whatever the print ended up being when you guys decided it was gonna be in the end. That's what we're putting out to bid. Hasn't changed since then.
Okay, so that little green space is not changing then, to my knowledge. They really
I can
are
look at and let you
redoing it.
know.
Yeah, it's pretty
redoing
much
it
going back
just
the
what it
way
is.
it was.
That's what I remember, just a little
Now,
elevation
if that
change.
business sign kind of got
Pardon?
lost, I don't know.
Well, it has to be removed. It probably will never get replaced. It might get
Well, it's
lost
going
when
into
it's.
into storage somewhere, right? In
Are you
the,
saying the one that's there now?
yeah.
You don't like it?
The white plastic that stays out of date.
I was just curious. I don't know. I don't know the history of it.
They're not our favorites, neither that one or the one that's on the corner by Swans Island. blanket that gets removed in the wintertime because of the plowing.
And gets hit by cars in the summertime.
Signs are a tricky thing.
And where we don't have a lot of room on that corner for that kind of a sign.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, signs are hard.
Okay, so let's talk about, do we have any marching orders? I'm going to get in contact with Rafi and suggest after our conversation today that Dave is willing to participate in the conversation with Alexis, and we would like to get started having Alexis deal with us as quickly as possible so we could get a move on. Dave's marching order is to work on insurance. And we really can't do more than just keep in mind what our Plan A and Plan B are until we have something more specific. You're going to check with Steve just to make sure our 1,500 number seems to be right.
And we'll get a good budget done.
Okay, I mean, maybe we round it to 7. It would be great. If it's less than 10, that's absolutely fabulous. Seems a lot more doable to me. That 10 number starts to sound a little bit bigger.
And you want to carry that insurance? Oh, that's what Dave's going to do. the insurance.
Yeah, Dave's going to
Yeah.
check on the insurance, so that's still to do. If that's all we can do on that today, how about anybody give any thoughts to who might be a good addition to the team, even if they're sort of ad hoc and just come on a regular basis? We do have some, I don't know what our, off the top of my head, when our terms, I think your term may be up in June.
I think mine is.
I can't remember.
But that doesn't mean they can't be renewed.
Absolutely. There may be, absolutely.
Ken
I don't have-
Ken Foster.
Yeah.
I know Ken.
Was he ever
Ken
asked?
Foster, yeah.
Ken,
Lives on Pearl Street.
and he's,
He sketches all over town. I mean, he's
All over the
very.
world.
All over the world. He's very, he's
Artistic guy.
very artistic
he's
guy.
not the architect?
He's not officially an architect, but he does architectural
licensed one.
design. And he's an
His
artist.
wife's in real estate in town.
Right.
Valerie.
And Gay Schuler's son.
And
Oh,
Chipman, he
Ken
lives in
Chipman, he
Rockland.
lives in Rockland.
Oh,
yeah.
that's not, different Ken.
Yes, this
Yeah.
is Ken Foster. His mother was Mary Ellen Foster, yeah.
Well, she was
Oh,
in the-
Mary Alice, sure,
Mary
from
Alice.
Texas.
Yes.
Oh, Mary Alice, yeah.
Oh,
He lives on Pearl Street.
You know Mary Alice, you remember Mary Alice? Is he somebody you know well enough to approach
I
and see if
do,
he'd be
I do.
interested in?
We're friends, yes.
coming-
My dog actually tore the canvas top off his car, so we know each other very well.
Then he owes
you
you.
all
Left
remember
a
he owes you.
sandwich
Yeah.
in the car, what can I tell you?
Yeah, I was going to say. And your dog is still with you?
He is,
Okay.
she is actually, yes.
Yeah, that's a
So
good suggestion.
we're looking for people with some expertise in design or whatever, right?
Yeah, I think, I mean, that is our team. It's
Right.
good to have people that have stake in the town and in the downtown. They don't have to, I mean,
Should there be another
I have-
retailer?
I had.
Yeah, I've been racking my brain, and I did talk to one person, and they're not really interested in doing any committees, so it's.
Because that's
Retail
sort
is
of making the
important.
board a little lopsided with people who aren't in business except for
Yeah.
one.
Well, we have new owner at,
Surround.
At the tree place.
Yeah, well, she's the one I was.
Ah.
oh,
I don't.
Did
it
you-
was-
Well, also,
It was.
It doesn't have to be retail necessarily. I mean, it could
well,
be,
what's her, I forget her first name, Curtis, who has the design.
Ellen.
Leslie.
Leslie.
Leslie Curtis, yeah, would she be interested? I don't know her from Beans, but she has a good sense of design.
Be kind of fun.
who, Leslie Curtis?
Yeah,
Or Don,
Don.
her husband?
Her husband?
I don't really know him either,
Don.
but anyway, yes, I mean, they've moved their shop right up to by the
Well,
yellow
they still have.
schoolhouse.
But
They
they're
still
still
own
on
the building.
Bayview.
No, they still have their business
oh,
there.
they do?
Yeah. That's
Okay.
only open on the weekend. or
Sort
something.
of inventory.
That's interesting, I don't know.
Do you have any other people in mind?
Would there be anybody from Allen Agency? I mean, I remember Is Jill Lang still at the Allen Agency? You know, she's
On a
been,
lot of committees.
is she already on a lot of committees? Oh,
He's
okay.
pretty committed.
And Amy Rollins is pretty busy at the
Yeah,
chamber?
very, yeah.
Okay, because she's also a dynamo. Okay.
What about someone from like Sea Dogs or something like that? Is there anybody
A
that?
restaurateur, Main Street kind of restaurateur?
How many years have we been trying to get restaurant people involved in
Oh,
the downtown
Longer
business
than I
group?
can, yeah.
Yeah, it's really difficult, really hard. There,
What about Sam Appleton? I mean, he seems to, you know, his business kind of runs itself. I mean, he goes down there, but he also kind of does other things. I don't know.
I don't know.
I can't see
What
him
about
getting
somebody from
into
the Stuart Smith Lodging Group?
Yeah,
Matt Levin, I mean, he may be too busy, but they have a big stake
you know,
in downtown Camden.
They do.
yeah.
Or his son. I forget.
Tyler?
Tyler.
Tyler's
Oh,
there, I
Eric,
know that.
Eric Anderson,
yeah, and is he still chamber president? Or is he finished with that?
he finished with that, yeah. He's a good guy.
He is a good guy. I like
He's a
Eric
hell of a
lot.
lot of hats.
This is
Yeah,
Eric
he does.
Andrews. Is it Anderson or Andrews?
Anderson.
Anderson.
And it's Erick. I can talk to him.
Why don't you,
Or-
that'd
or
be
you-
great.
I don't know, do you feel like you know him
Is he with
better?
16 Bayview?
Yeah, he's part of that
Oh,
whole
okay.
organization.
Yeah, I could talk with him, and, you know, maybe he would say, I can, I can't do it myself.
But I could
let me-
recommend
yeah, I could
somebody?
recommend somebody.
Yeah.
Matt Levin.
Yeah.
So you're,
Well, I will do it if you, or you can do it. I don't care.
I'll see him. I'll
You-
talk to
Okay,
him.
all right.
okay. Because I was going to say, otherwise, you know, one of us could call Stuart Smith and say, who in your organization? But if you know Eric well, Eric might suggest
I think you
somebody
would,
else.
yeah. So how many people are we looking for?
Well, I think I would like us to have people that want to come on an ad hoc basis initially, like Donna did for a while, to see if they would be interested in becoming a regular member as somebody decides not to renew. Our charter, the committee charter is really, I think, for 5 people. But if we had people that were interested and came on a regular basis, I mean, 2 or 3 additional people, I think would be great input for us to have.
What the Smoothie Shack person, the person that runs the smoothie?
Oh, the gal smoothie.
She's
shack.
moving to
Eddie Reed.
Eddie Reed's, right, to the Colony place, yeah.
I was wondering who was going in there when I
Well, that's
saw
what
the
I heard.
construction.
too.
Yeah.
So Alicia from the Smoothing Shack is moving to Main Street?
So there's going to be
It's gonna be like.
it won't be a shack anymore.
It'll be a rest, more, I mean, there'll be tables and, this is what I've heard, so.
They're gonna get rid of the Smoothie Shack?
Where the Colony shop was?
Eddie Reed.
They're in the process now.
Colony Shock or Top.
They are, yeah.
Wow.
That is exciting news.
Trailer or the can, or the.
Who's going to move there?
So the shack,
Alicia
I don't
from-
know if it'll still be there or not.
Rumor is Alicia from the Smoothie Shack that's at Bob Oxton's old garage location. She does a lot of business out of that,
That's why I was
and she
thinking
may,
of her,
maybe
yeah.
she'll keep it, but she has a couple of those, because she goes, people that go to events to do things
Maybe,
for.
yeah. This'll, but they will have sit-down, you know.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Like sandwiches and wraps
Is a
and things like
restaurant a
that.
good thing to have on the Main Street for you, all you folks?
Oh, I think so. I tell you what, I really wish we'd have on Main Street is an ice cream parlor. I mean, I can't tell you how many thousands of people come in. They think if they don't
Well,
know
with
us,
the
they think,
cow
yeah,
in
'cause
the
it's
word,
cow. They
right,
go,
cow.
oh, you don't have ice cream?
You're right between the 2 of them, aren't you?
should serve gelato.
Between the bridge and.
Yeah, well, I mean, Main Street would be a great spot for that, but nobody so far has seemed to want to do.
We have a couple of other vacancies still, the old First National, the First Bank
Oh,
of
the first, yeah.
Damascata
Yeah,
is
that's a big
still
space.
empty, and Admiral's Buttons is still empty.
Those are big bites.
Those are big bites. I think it's a big bite.
Ice cream, yeah. Too big for ice cream.
Too big for
Yeah,
ice cream, but
and-
you know,
And one's right next to an ice cream parlor.
Bernice, when she was in what is now Sotheby's.
Sotheby's, yeah.
That was ice cream before, I think
It
Bernice,
was.
before
Round Top, yeah.
Denise not from Bernice from Once a Tree. It was no longer Once a Tree. but-
And there were fried clams sold out the back. I used to
Who's that?
watch those
fried
lines
clams.
out my window, my office, down in, out the back of what's now Sotheby's, there's fried clams.
So you're going to approach Ken Foster, you're going to approach Eric, and is that good to start with, or we should keep, I'm worried
Yeah,
that
and I'll
Alicia will
actually-
get too busy.
I'll talk to a couple of other people, if you want me to, or should I run it by you first if I?
No,
think
you
of
do not
somebody?
need to run it
Okay.
by us. I don't think so. If you have an idea and you see somebody, I would
Okay.
jump on it. That would be great.
But I actually think Leslie Curtis is a good idea.
How about the lady at Josephine's? Is that,
I don't know.
Yeah, I
called
mean,
me a
her,
couple
her
times.
stuff is beautiful,
Yeah.
but I don't even know what she looks like.
I don't either.
Josephine's on Main, it's Joe Ellen's that's here, or is it the?
Joe Ellen's on Main Street.
Joe Ellen, yeah, that's,
Oh, Joe Ellen.
Joe Ellen, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they're interested in.
Oh,
in-
yeah, no, I don't know the Josephine.
Do you know the name of the lady who has
well,
Josephine's?
it's.
I know Leslie.
I know Leslie. I know
Her
Leslie.
daughter's the harbor master in Rockport, I think.
Oh, you mean
No,
this
that's
one?
talking about
Nancy
Leonard's.
Leonard.
Nancy Leonard, yeah.
Leonard's. Nancy at Leonard's.
Yes.
Not Josephine's.
I was thinking of both, but yeah.
Oh, thinking about, yeah, I know Nancy
Yeah.
quite well. Well, why don't we start with those two and any others? And,
Okay.
I'm worried about Alicia. I think Alicia might be good. But if she's starting a new business on Main Street, I think she's going to have her hands full. Alicia of the Smoothie Shack.
Oh,
I think she's a good friend of
Montgomery.
the Montgomerys, Lee, and I think that's how that all maybe
that's how
came
that-
about,
Transpired.
yeah.
Okay. Well, that's a good start. Any other thoughts? And our next meeting date?
Well,
Oh,
I have one thought.
Great.
And that is, there are some people on the Historic Resources Commission who I think have an interest in the sort of same kind of overlaps with what we're doing, who would be good candidates, except that there's a conflict. They meet on the second Tuesday at 4.
They meet probably upstairs.
It's in the History Center at the
Oh,
library.
History Center.
And, you know, I'm
We used
not
to
a
meet
member
there.
of that commission, but I go as a guest. And I used to go all the time until the design committee came along. So if we changed our meeting date,
Or they did.
We just changed ours, didn't we?
yeah.
When Donna came on.
Yeah, we did.
We were the first
Oh,
third
that's right, it used to be the
Tuesday.
first
Yeah.
Tuesday, yeah.
Because I think we could cherry pick some people from that committee.
And you know, it would be good because like
You came from the.
I did.
Meg is on CDAC. Are you, you're still on
Yeah.
CDAC, one of the original founding.
Oh,
Members.
really? I don't know if I've been there that long, have I?
It would be wonderful overlap. It would help keep us sort of in concert with each other. And they are people we would be wanting to talk with, particularly if we pursue new signage downtown, because they're very interested in historic signage for historic things, and that would be a wonderful connection. Is Pat Scaling still on the Historic
Yeah.
Resources? And Judy, is
She's a
Judy
chairman.
McGurk? Maybe we could get Dennis McGurk.
He's on the library
Is he still on the
board, isn't he?
library
Library
board?
board, yeah.
No, well,
Well, that doesn't mean he couldn't do something else, but.
yeah, we do have that hurdle about the meeting time, so if we would have to say to them,
You
since
gotta have
we've already
people that
moved.
have some orientation to design too.
There's a lot of architects on that committee.
Yeah. Historic,
Yeah.
is there?
I think there's two or three.
Well, Chris Glass,
Chris.
Rosie, I don't know if Chris is a regular member, but Rosie is.
Oh, Rose.
Chris Fasholt's on it?
Yeah.
Chris Passol's on it, yeah.
Oh. So he must be a relatively new addition, that's
Yes, he
great.
is.
I'm glad he's involved again. We were on the planning board together. So that's maybe a thought, but because of that complication, do you know who the chairman is?
I think it's Pat Scaling.
It was, yeah.
She was, I don't know.
Well, maybe I'll get in touch with Pat. I know her. I'll see what she has to say.
The chair is, the chair is, do you know the chair's name?
Yeah, I think it's Pat Scaling. The chairperson?
I thought it was somebody else.
I can look it up on-
It's another person.
Yeah, it's Elaine Clertis Schmidt or something like that. I apologize for not remembering her name.
No, that's okay.
I actually met
We-
with her
we-
about the door, and she's really nice.
I could still call Pat since I know her. And
Eileen Curtis Kleiman,
Eileen?
yeah. Curtis Kleiman. I have her number,
I don't recognize the name.
718
718.
530.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's 5952. Excuse me, 4952.
4952.
Very nice lady.
Okay. I'll call her, and I might just have a conversation with Pat since I know her. Okay, that's a great idea. Okay, Next meeting is-
11th?
of February. That would be right.
I will miss the next two meetings, just so you know.
You can send us an email once you've talked to the
Of the
prospects.
beach,
Pardon me?
with a picture of the beach and email.
Don't include
Yeah,
the
do you really
temperature
want that?
on your
Yeah.
emails, please. Right?
But you'll send us, would you send me or send all of us an email when you get a response from the people you're going to talk to about coming as ad hoc members?
I don't have anybody I'm personally talking to.
Oh, you're
but
not. You're-
I said if I thought of somebody, I would.
Oh, okay.
Because I think Dave is going to talk to
Eric.
Eric and Leslie, right?
I'm not going to talk to Leslie.
Oh,
talk to
I'll
Leslie.
talk to Leslie, yeah,
Leslie Curtis?
yeah.
I know her, but
That's
I'm,
February the 11th,
I just have to find.
It's the second
when-
Tuesday?
When the store is open.
4
I just have
o'clock.
to keep checking to see when she's
oh,
there.
yeah.
My daughter's in Corel for the high school, and there's a dessert cabaret on the 10th, just to put a plug in for them. All the dessert you can eat, and they do a performance.
Oh, what fun,
Yeah, so at 7 o'clock at the high school.
Oh.
on the 10th.
Maybe we could have our meeting over there.
So for our next meeting, would it be possible to discuss that article or the
Oh,
actual
thank you.
thing that Dave sent? Because I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah, this is about the,
Especially in light of the talk about the public landing and the harbor master's shack and all this stuff.
it's wonderful.
Yeah, that was,
Because basically, my reading of the article is doing something about the harbor master's shack down at the edge of the water is like throwing good money after bad.
Unless
even
we
if
make it
it's
a movable.
But still, I mean, the public bathrooms
There
have
is
to
a
be dealt
report,
with as
though.
well.
Yeah, that's, I think, what she's talking about, is that report.
Yes, and so I think this whole thing needs to be discussed and maybe not spend money on a new building until we have a better sense of where this whole thing should head.
I think there's a whole design process that needs to be done for the whole landing, because, it's gonna need to be raised, bathrooms are gonna need to be, which is too bad, because you had the great plan that we could.
when we did the master plan, the downtown master plan, or when it was done, was not even considered that I remember, was it?
No, you mean,
The rising sea level?
no.
I mean, there were no
Well, there was mention of
contingencies.
it, but it didn't.
But
get-
no, but the
yeah.
design did not include
No.
that.
Honestly, a harbor master's thing that also included public bathrooms and the shower and the laundry, that are all things boat people are
Interested in.
using, I think it would be a good building combination thing.
Who in the town, if we had somebody come and talk to us about it, who would you suggest we ask to come to the meeting to talk a bit about the report and to hear some of our thoughts about it?
We haven't had I don't know, because we haven't had a chance to discuss it yet. It's interesting. I first found out about it in the newspaper, which was.
There is a report.
Right, there is a report.
I first saw it in the newspaper, which I was sort of surprised at. I thought I would have been informed about it ahead of time, because we knew it was coming, but we haven't had a chance to discuss it. I mean, Jeremy sort of Jeremy Martin seems to be sort of, involved with planning and all that, so.
You would be involved too, of course, when it came to
Execution.
Down the road.
down the road.
Jeremy Martin would be the person that's probably gonna have to take the lead in, figuring out where we go from there, he and Audra. But we haven't had, so.
Is it on your agenda in the next 2 weeks that you know of?
It'll be on my personal agenda to ask about it, but,
You have a meeting this evening?
no.
No, next the 21st.
Tuesday.
Yeah, charter.
So, so I haven't had a chance to talk about it, but Jeremy would be the person. But now that we have the report, which we've been waiting for, now we can talk seriously about what needs to be done, and the cost involved was substantial.
It
But
was
needs-
huge.
But it needs to be done.
Yeah, there's almost no choice.
There is no choice.
Yeah.
Unless people like to swim.
Well, we all like to swim,
And-
but not that way.
Just so that, because this Harbor Walkway thing is happening soon with all the digging up, is there under Harbor Walkway a sewer line that feeds up to Main Street, or is the only sewer line from the harbor going up Commercial Street?
That's why they're digging it up, isn't it? That's why they're.
No, no.
That's drainage,
storm
not
drainage,
sewer.
right?
Storm
Two
drainage.
different things, so
Yeah.
I guess that they're, I'm not an expert on what's happening with the wastewater department, but, aren't they replacing the main that crosses the harbor? Like,
Yeah,
and
and
they're
they're-
gonna be coming from C Street up Atlantic, and then they're gonna go down Main, and then it's gonna go down Commercial to the other pump station.
Right, well, the reason why I'm thinking about this is, one place to relocate this stuff is, you tear down the existing Chamber of Commerce building, and you put a new building there, and that already obviously has its hookups and stuff. Another choice is you put this new building in the grassy sward over where, like the anchor thing is below the Montgomery building. But from there, if you do put a building there, where does the sewer line connect to that building?
Oh, if you do a combination harbor master new
There's
bathrooms.
bathroom thing, because I think from the grassy sward, you have a better visual on the harbor than you would from the chamber building, so I could see the harbor master wanting to be further around the corner to see out.
Well, I would think
To
though
see.
that you could pump from anywhere.
Yeah,
You'd have to
know what I
pump
mean?
over to where the existing chamber building is, then.
yes, you would. You have to figure that one out.
Would you do me a favor? Do you mind having an assignment?
No, not at all.
Would you mind finding out if Jeremy or whomever, after you have a discussion, would be willing to come to,
Oh, sure.
or if he's not the person, if it's Audra that ought to come? Would you, I know you're the liaison, I don't want to say just, but normally don't take assignments, but would you take that assignment to find out
Sure.
who the best person would be to come to the meeting on the 11th?
Yes.
Oh, that would be wonderful. Thank you very much.
Did Jeremy used to come to these meetings?
You did.
But there's the conflict with the historic resources, that's why
Oh, no, I know that, but I was just having a visual of him being at some of our meetings.
he, sometimes I see him ahead of time and he'll tell me if there's, if he's got any more info. Okay, is there anything else, guys?
I move we adjourn.
All in favor? Thank you. Turn off your mics, please.
Good, now we can really get down.
Gossip.